Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Wednesdays is my good friend Alex Speers. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew?
And I've also got Michele Berra. He's usually with me on Mondays, but he's here with us on Wednesday. 3-man pod.
Hey, glad to be here. Sad that you weren't with me on Monday, but men can adjust to whatever, so it's fine.
I was at an indoor water park in Dallas on Monday, so
That is not the first time, right?
Could not have done a pod from there. I mean, not the first time, definitely not.
You told me about this in the past.
We've been to lots of indoor water parks. So it was cool. Got a little break, back and podcasting, back and went to Thunder practice today. And Gordon Hayward is going to play for the Thunder tomorrow, it seems, which is very
cool. You said he was starting.
I did not say he was starting.
Yeah, Andrew reported he was starting.
Yeah.
I heard that as well. I can confirm.
Mark Daigneault said something like that he wasn't going to disclose his rotations to us or anything, but he's definitely going to play. I don't know if he's starting. I'll say that. But we know he's not starting. So
Andrew, how many
Then
games?
Why not disclosing the rotations? Like if the starting unit will remain the same.
I know. They don't like to disclose. He doesn't like to disclose much. Especially, he won't even tell us the starters on the day of the game. Prior to the game, he won't tell us. So he's definitely not telling us today.
Do you know how many games Gordon Hayward has come off the bench in the last decade?
Oh, it's got to be like none. Has he even come off the bench?
It's actually more than you would think because of the season in his second season in Boston when he came back from the injury.
Oh, okay.
He came off the bench a lot, but outside of that, no.
Yeah, it'd have to be a very specific situation. One that's not Charlotte is kind of where he's at now. So Hayward is like the perfect Thunder guy on the court, obviously, because he can shoot past dribble, he can do all this stuff. He's a big wing, great, but he's also a perfect Thunder player in that he talked to us for 10 minutes and said almost nothing. It was amazing. He's like a great, great Thunder player. He disclosed that he is number 33 because he is 33 years old. And he also Larry Bird, which I think is the case for almost every 33-year-old man. Let's see. I asked him about like his emotions the day of the trade. And he said that it had been something that had been discussed a lot leading up to the day, so he wasn't surprised by it. He wasn't even surprised by it when they played Charlotte in Oklahoma City, and that it had been something that was discussed prior to that game in OKC. So he wasn't surprised by it, but it was more about, for him, because he has 4 kids, about, okay, logistically, how do I live my life now that my whole family's back in Charlotte? And like they'll spend some time here, but they still have to go to school and all this stuff. So to him, like that was more of a deal when it comes to just the day of the trade. He said his kids were really excited that he was going to be on the Thunder and he's going to be on like a team that's in the playoffs. So that was kind of cool. And then he just talked about how he'll fit in well with the team and the schemes, and he likes that. And he, like, they asked about like what his relationship was like with Sam Presti, and he said, well, like I've known him since, the draft process, and like we'll just say hello at games. It's just like, oh my God.
What's that? Who says a hello to at games?
It was great. I mean, he's like the ultimate Thunder guy. I mean, they might as well sign him to an extension now because he was just amazing in that presser as just like a Thundery guy. But the biggest news obviously is that he's going to play tomorrow and that he's ready to go. And it's looking pretty sturdy. This, something that I think. So, you guys have thoughts? I'm excited to see him play against like a very quality opponent in the Clippers. I'm very, very excited for that game.
Yeah, I mean, what throwing him into the deep end? I mean, that is one of the biggest games for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it really is.
To to play the Clippers. So yeah, I was already excited about that game. Fascinated to see how Mark's going to use them, because you don't know if there's like, not that there's a minutes restriction, but just like, is he going to ease them in to it?
Yeah, because he hasn't played since like before
Right.
Christmas. So, or like
so it'd be kind of surprising for him to go out there and get like 30 minutes against the Clippers. That would be surprising, right?
It would be very surprising. And that there's also just there's a lot of other guys on the team that can get minutes. You know, when if he's put in the game and he plays 20 minutes, well then that means, and that's one of my questions that we'll get into in a second, but you know, they're still going to play Kenrich. They're still going to play Isaiah Joe. They're still going to play Casey Wallace. You know, they're still going to play all these guys off the bench. And so, like, what does that look like? I think it's going to be a really interesting, you know, subplot to the rest of the season. Michele, you have thoughts?
I have thoughts. I'm really curious about the starting job. I can't think that he will not get at least a peek at that, especially if he plays okay. Like, he is the perfect fit to play. Well, not the perfect fit. Someone like a little bit taller, a little bit more rebounding oriented, and could be better. But I mean, offensively, you can't really ask more. Like, he's a guy that can attack the basket. He can even play into some fake post ups and stuff like that, where if you have like the small guard guarding you in the post, he can definitely punish that. So it's a fun thing to think about, like having him with the starters. And maybe it will come like, hey, I'm the first sub of the bench, and it's like after 5-6 minutes, and I will play a little bit with the starters. But it's still different. I think that Gordon Hayward maximizes that starting unit, and probably you can find ways to maximize even Giddey with other units off the bench. So I really wonder if it's good to just flip-flop them and just having Gordon Hayward starting. It will not happen, but you know, one can think and dream.
Yeah. I mean, that's my first question. I have 5 questions about the Thunder for the rest of the season. And first one's like, how much does Gordon Hayward play and whose minutes are going away? You know, I think that is going to be it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. And I think everyone's first thought is kind of what yours is, Michele. It's like, of course, he just takes Josh Giddey's minutes, and then like Josh Giddey just like floats away, right? I mean, I don't think
that. I don't think that Giddey will play like way less than this. Maybe it will play like 22, 23, 24 as an average, which is a little bit below. I just think that the minutes that Hayward plays should be with the starters, because it's the best way to maximize a unit. That I think that we need to state this. The starting unit, it's good. It's not bad. It's not a bad unit by numbers. It's not a great unit. It's not the best starting unit. It's not the best unit of the Thunder. But it's still a decent enough unit that has, like, I think if you cut away the garbage time, it's still quite successful. I don't remember the exact number, but it's like +4, +5. So it's not bad. But I think that it could be better with Gordon Hayward. I do think that one real benefit of having another guy who can be anchoring, maybe is a strong word, but like making your second unit or first unit a little bit more functional, can result in having Dub and Shea like a little bit less stressed in many games. I don't think that against the Clippers they will play like less than 32, 33, 34, even 35. But in some games, they can really take it easy if the units with Hayward work as well as they should, because they'll have a lot of times where they just can't play like 32 minutes, 28, 29. So this is also a benefit, I think.
Yeah, I think that the thing with Josh is going to be that it'll be easier for Mark to pull him because you have Gordon Hayward there. I think we've seen how he has like fluctuated with Aaron Wiggins, for instance, like, you know, playing him 30 minutes a game and then playing him 10 minutes a game. It's gotten more consistent recently, but like we've seen those patterns with certain players. I think with someone like Gordon Hayward, who has a very long NBA career, has played 30 minutes a night pretty much every season that he's, you know, been healthy. If Josh is having a bad game, I think the trigger is going to be a lot quicker. And so we may see more games where Giddy's playing like under 10 minutes. I think that could be a real possibility. Whereas it really feels like the floor with Giddy, even when he was playing poorly, was around like 15 to 19 minutes. He had a few games like that. I think
Mhm.
with Hayward, it just opens up the possibility that Mark will be a little bit more aggressive if Josh doesn't have it, or if a team starts out guarding them the way that teams have been guarding them, and he misses his first 3 threes. Like, are you really going to just keep like pounding this into the ground, even though you have a player like Gordon Hayward off the bench? Like
Mhm.
it just doesn't make as much sense now that you have Gordon Hayward there as an option.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do think that Hayward adds some real complexity to this roster that may even improve other stuff. Like if you look at the lineups that Giddy plays with and they work, it's lineup that can run and gun. And you can play more of that with Giddy if you have a guy like Hayward that is not run, but it's surely gun. And it's like he can play with like a little bit more space. Giddy can. If you have like a second unit with Dub, Gordon Hayward, Giddy, Chet, and Dort, for example, like that is pretty balanced in terms of defense. That unit will not be destroyed defensively, and Giddy will have so much sense in that unit because
Mm.
they can play basically 4 out, and Giddy like with ball handling skills or cutting skills and playing a lot in transition because you have Dort and Dub together that are the guys that pushes the ball more and because they generate like steals and stuff like that. So if you have Kenrich there, then the defense is much better, but the offense is just terrible because there is no space. And so I do think that the Hayward allows for a little bit more of spacing for every unit, which will benefit Josh.
Yeah, I think so. I'm also just curious to see, like, physically, how does Hayward look? What does he look like in like a really competitive environment? Is he able to stay healthy? There's like a lot of questions there with him because we don't know. Like, we don't know if he's going to be able to stay healthy throughout the rest of the season and the playoffs. And
But I also don't think like we should be managing him because we don't even know how he's going to fit in on this team. Like I think you just play him as you would normally play him. Like the team was already good without him.
Mhm.
And so I don't feel like there's this need like with some other players on other teams where you kind of like want to manage their minutes so that you definitely can have them in the playoffs. Like I would rather them kind of explore the Gordon Hayward thing fully in the regular season. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. Like whatever. The team's still good, going to be good without him. Maybe they'll win a first round series if Gordon Hayward isn't there. Like maybe he will be that impactful, and then losing him will be that big of a deal. But I hope it's not like kind of what we saw with Micic early in the season, whereas like
Oh,
you kind of felt like they were really slow playing it. And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, maybe this is an idea like post All-Star break, they're going to start playing him a lot more. And they eventually did start playing him more, but then they traded him. But I wonder if it's going to be something like that where they like really slow play it because they do want him in the playoffs. I just don't. I would rather just see what it looks like because I think that similar to the way that like Muscala, we probably knew Muscala wasn't going to be here long term, but just playing Muscala gave you some insight into what this team could look like with a spacing five. And I think in the same way, playing Gordon Hayward, as long as he's healthy, is going to give you some insight into this roster that's bigger than just this season, bigger than just this playoffs. And so I'd rather just see him get minutes now.
Yeah, I would too. I with what you're saying, I would hope that they wouldn't just like play him like 2 games and then not play him 3 games and like play him 4 games and not play him 2 games. If they're managing like his minutes where it's like, hey, the Thunder are just like rolling tonight, let's only play him 10 minutes. Like I would be okay with that. But if it's I would rather see him as a part of the regular rotation. And
Yeah, and you can manage like back to backs. You can manage surely back. Like there's no real need for Hayward to play like 2 games in a row. And as Andrew said, I mean, why not like keeping the minutes a little bit in control? Because that is especially like long stretches of like why playing him a full quarter. That seems like really unnecessary. But I am with you. I like it's really important that they give Hayward a try in basically every single lineup. Like, can he play with Gideon Chet? Is he the perfect fit with the starting unit? I want him to play with the starters, like a lot, to see is this sustainable defensively, and playing him in maybe in crucial moments of the game, because that is something that you need to know. Like, you know that in some games, if you close with Giddy, there are ways that the opponents are guarding you. I really want that with Hayward, like how teams are guarding you in the clutch when the game is on the line and you have Hayward there, how that looks like.
Yeah. I would be floored if we did not see him closing multiple games down the stretch. Like, I would be really shocked. And maybe that means that he's not like the player that we think he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the case, is that he is a little bit further over the hill than we thought he was. And that's sincerely possible. I mean, he's been in Charlotte. He's had injuries here and there. We don't know. We have in our minds what we think it will look like, but they're going to have to really figure it out. And I would be shocked if he did not finish games. Yeah, they have 5 back-to-backs remaining.
Yeah.
And if they didn't play him in those.
God, how many back-to-backs did they have in January?
In January, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. So 5.
Yeah, over the second, really, they only have 1 back-to-back in February. Over the next 3 months, they have the same amount that they had in January.
Okay, that sounds good.
Which is insane. Like, that is completely bonkers. Okay. Next question I have is where are they going to land in the standings? Because it is going to matter quite a bit where they end up landing, whether it be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Is kind of where it feels like they're eventually going to land. You guys have thoughts? You guys have like preferences of where you would like them to land? It's interesting because like there's good teams in the play-in, and it's if like, and we don't know what 5 and 6 is going to be, but if like I would maybe rather play the Pelicans than I would the Lakers or the Warriors. I don't know if you guys feel that way, where like maybe even the 3 seed might be a better option, because if you're 1 or 2, like it can end up being like Dallas and Lakers, that come out of the play-in bracket, and you're like, oh my gosh, like both those teams might be. I might rather play the Pelicans than both those teams.
I think that we need to make a little bit of a schedule comment, which it's important to me. Like, Minnesota has 2 games against the Clippers and 3 games against Denver. That is not insignificant. Like, OKC has 1 total game against the other top 3 teams in the West, which is 1 against the Clippers, and it is on Friday.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of cross matchups, which I think will help the Thunder a little bit. I don't have in my mind what that means in terms of number, but I think that it can be like 2-3 games that they basically have for free, because someone will lose, and so they will get something out of this. I do think that the schedule is quite manageable, even if they have like a little bit of a back-to-back and stuff like that. So I would be extremely surprised if they drop out of the top 4, like extremely surprised.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of seedings, like probably today, the team that I would like to see them play is Sacramento. It would be like an amazing series. I think that is a series where OKC doesn't start like with I don't want to say with a lot of fear, but it's one where you say, okay, we can play them. We have Dort that can guard Fox. I know Domas is a strong dude to play against Chet, but I feel like they have something going with J. Will playing against him, or Biyombo.
And Bismack. There was a little bit of Bismack news today. I just asked. What?
Yeah, give us our Bismack news. What is it?
Can I not hit you with little Bismack news?
I'm waiting for it.
Sure, we're here.
I just asked Mark I asked him how he saw him fitting with the offense and the defense, and he kind of confirmed what we've been thinking all along, is that he's just a situational big.
Yeah.
And like, he's played these guys before, and like he's played all the bigs in the league. Like, he knows how to play against all of them. And so just having a guy that you can just throw in there, I legitimately think if they played Sacramento in a series, they might use him because because all you need to do with Domas is like just push him off of his spot and get him flustered a bit. And Biyombo can do that for, I don't know, 10 minutes a night in a playoff series. Like I would not be shocked to see him in a playoff series like that.
Yeah, and I would not underestimate the fact that when you have a guy like Bismack that has been around and knows them a lot, like having him working with Chet is quite different than having like Jay Will working against Chet. It's a different complexity of player compared to Jokic, but having like a big bruising big, just beating the hell out of you every single day, I think that is also helpful. And it's also something that, for example, Steven Adams benefited a lot from when Perk was here.
Yeah.
That was still one of the best memories when Steven said that Perk punched him the first practice. That was amazing. But anyway, I think that like the Lakers are very scary. Dallas has a lot of variance, like probably the highest in terms of variance. The Clippers are extremely scary. So I mean, seeding, I would not really look at seedings this year. Like just go and win, and like whatever happens. I mean, if the teams like the Warriors are extremely scary. If Steph is the version of Steph that we saw the past month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look over the last 2 weeks, like the Lakers have the number 1 offense, 9th ranked defense, Golden State's 10th ranked offense, 8th ranked defense. Those teams, you know, I used to think it was insane to think that they could get too much higher, but the Lakers are only 2 games back of the Kings. Warriors are 3.5 games back. The Kings haven't been on a hot streak, we would say. It's been kind of rough for them. Like over their last month, they've been the 16th offense, 21st defense. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Sacramento ends up in like the 10 spot. I think Dallas seems to be trending up, but New Orleans is trending up. Phoenix is trending up. Like really the only team that is trending down seems to be Sacramento. And it's not like they've been horrible. It's just these other teams have been so much better over this recent stretch. And I think Denver's going to turn around, obviously. Like they're on a 3-game losing streak. So it's hard to see who the team is that is like the obvious jump candidate. But I think all these teams are going to keep winning until one of them gets an injury. I have no idea what the final standings are going to look like. Like I'm with you, Andrew. I would probably put the Pelicans number 1, even though that feels a little crazy because I do think there's elements of their team that match up well with OKC. But beyond that, like Kings, the Mavs have suddenly got a little bit scarier. I mean, I don't want to be too biased by that most recent game. But I would love to see them match up with them again just to see what it looks like. But yeah, Lakers and Warriors, I would love to avoid them. Suns, I don't know what to think about because I don't know. We saw them in last year's playoffs where like Devin Booker just went supernova.
Yeah.
Had incredible. And I don't think you can necessarily stop that. Like I don't. OKC theoretically matches up pretty well with them. Like they have guys to throw at Devin Booker. Maybe not KD. I don't know if anyone does.
Yeah. That is not like a small issue.
Not having someone to match up.
It's not the smallest issue I can find. Like not having so.
Well, but
I think J-Dub will be the guy.
Yeah, he probably would have to be. But I don't think there is a solution. I don't think there is. There are teams like KD is going to be great no matter what.
Who guards Shea? Who guards Shea for them? I think is like a good.
Oh, question. I don't think they have anyone to guard.
Okogie.
J-Dub.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're going to have to play Okogie 48 minutes. Who's going to be guarding Shea and J-Dub?
That's what I'm asking. Yeah, I mean, we can ask the questions. We can ask like who's going to guard? But honestly, like the Thunder have some guys that are really, really tough to match up with, and Shea's going to be one of the toughest mismatches in the playoffs.
Booker and KD, like they're good defensively, but that's asking a lot for them, knowing what they are going to have to do on the offensive end.
It's probably Booker. Booker is probably the best guy on SGA.
Yeah. And Phoenix is a team that if you have Giddy on the starting unit, they'll say, "Oh, thank God, we know where to hide Nurk."
Yeah.
They will absolutely do that. Like, not even
Yeah.
think about it twice, because Chet can really be guarded by KD. I don't think that there is
Yeah.
any issue. Like, and not saying that the Chet cannot take advantage of that matchup, but I would guard him like out of the 3-point line and dare him to do something else. And like, Nurk can be your guy that stays like gazillion feet from Giddy and just wait. And if he does that, then like then you can double. Then you can throw like multiple looks at Shea, because you have the personnel to do so. You can double him, you can trap him, because you know that you have like the big man down there that can help you. So I really think that in that specific matchup, the Giddy problem can be huge if they don't find a way to solve it.
Is there a matchup though where you think it wouldn't be an issue, or like what's the team that you think they could manage it best?
That's a good question. I do think that there are teams that, like Orlando, they don't have really
So we're talking about
good.
NBA Finals now.
We're talking about the finals matchup.
No,
Magic
no,
Thunder.
no. For example, like, I don't know. There has to be like the way in which it works for real. It's when you have a rim protecting big, whereas Giddy is not really keen on like getting downhill and trying to attack him, which Valanciunas, for example, is not. Like, I would not be worried if that is the decision that New Orleans makes, because I think that Giddy can take advantage of that matchup.
Yeah,
It's
and
not just
teams
guarding
are-
with the set.
I was
go
gonna say
ahead.
teams are specifically killing that Pelicans unit at the rim.
Yeah.
So that, like, they're scoring like over 70% at the rim. We were talking about on Slam and Jam. So yeah, that would probably be a team where I'm not as worried about it.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the team
in Sacramento.
amount against. This is the teams that Giddy has played less than 21 minutes against: Lakers, Miami, Sacramento, Clippers, Minnesota, Charlotte, Dallas, Denver, Clippers.
Yeah.
Those are the teams that he's played like the least against. And then we're talking like playing like less than 25 minutes, which has happened.
Yeah.
He's played less than 25 minutes in 27 games.
Yeah, it's not a small number.
So it's not. And Minnesota is there. Golden State is in there. Dallas is in there again. New Orleans is in here.
Yeah.
You know, against Golden State again. Here he played 22 minutes against Golden State. You know, I think that's kind of where we're heading, though, with all of this, is that Giddy is probably playing 20 minutes or less, you know, against a lot of teams in the Western Conference, unless they decide to play them straight up and let a guard, you know, be the one to defend him.
Yeah.
And then if that's the case, then yeah, you can play him a lot of minutes, because it functions really well, and we've seen that lately.
Well, against Orlando, the game before the All-Star break.
It was great. He was great against Orlando. And they didn't, and it's not like let's see, how much did they even play him in that game? Yeah, I mean, they didn't even play him a ton. They played him 27 minutes in that game. So it wasn't like played like 33 minutes or anything, but
no, that is gone. That, I think, is really gone, because they want to have J-Dub and Shea alone on the court for.
Oh my gosh, how many times has Josh Giddey played 33 or more minutes this season? And how many games?
12.
I guess like 5.
It's 1.
Wow.
And it was against. Can you guys have a guess?
The Toronto Raptors, overtime game.
Raptors game. He played 41 minutes. His season high before then was against Phoenix, which is kind of interesting. He played 31 minutes and 57 seconds against Phoenix and had 10, 6, and 10 with 2 steals and 2 blocks. And that's interesting. He only took 1 3 too. I need to go back and watch that game. That was in November, so maybe things would be completely different from that one. But that's an interesting one, because maybe Phoenix is a team that he can play a little bit against, but they're really good.
So I was just looking through the schedule. Like, when are we going to see some test cases? So obviously the Clippers, but then March 3rd at Phoenix on ESPN, back to back at LA Lakers on NBA TV the very next day. So just in the next 2 weeks, we're going to see some of those matchups, which is nice.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. How good is Jalen Williams?
Quite good. He's definitely a guy, I think.
Yeah, like the question the question I think makes this fun is, okay, we know we all hate the like ESPN rankings when they actually come out, but I do think it's fun to think about where will he be next summer.
Well, you look
Like
at Simmons. Simmons did his trade value thing, you know,
right, which is kind of a separate deal because that's more about like him being on a rookie contract and being young.
But I think he had him 21st.
Yeah, and I think
which is also like, who cares? Like, who cares about what, you know, Bill Simmons says? Like, who cares? But also, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think ESPN rankings, they're based on like what they expect the player to be at the end of the season. I would be shocked if he's not top 35. I think that's kind of like the floor. If he has a good playoffs, I think it could be as high as top 25 going into next season.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because we've been having this conversation about Chet the whole time. And there's a realistic chance, especially if they have a good playoff run, where we're coming into next year and everyone has those three guys ranked as top 30 players in the league.
Yeah.
Top 25 players in the league. Yeah. That would be wild.
It would be really wild.
If you think about like straight up on-court value, 21 is probably right now a little bit generous, I think. You can probably find 22 at least players that are a bit better than him on the court. I think that is not impossible. But in terms of trade value, am I a hater? Yeah, sure. In terms of trade value, when you have like a guy that is producing like an all-star on a rookie deal, that may be short. Like,
it's insane.
Like, there are contracts that I would not sniff before J-Dubs, even if the player is much, much better. Just because like trade value, you have 7 years of this guy. I mean, it would be probably top 10, top 15 in the league.
Yeah, you got 7 years and he's already this good halfway through.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
crazy.
You can say
absolutely insane.
I mean, we can start discussing which one of the all-stars you might like pick before J-Dub, and it's probably around 20 or 22. But he's there. Like, I would have him before probably Trae Young, before Jaylen Brown, before Cat, before I don't know.
Yeah, you call all those teams and say, if you called Atlanta, it was like, hey, could we do J-Dub for Trae Young? They'd be like, how do we sign up for this right now? You know, I mean, it's crazy. If they redrafted, where would he go in that draft now? Like, I know he's been going like third in that draft.
Andrew, why don't you let me share something?
Yeah, like, we need to think about like Paolo versus Jalen.
Which is the blue and red line. If you are joining us on YouTube, J-Dub is the blue line. This is a Darko DPM career progression. I threw in Anthony Edwards just for fun. I'm happy to throw in any other players. That you would like to see compared to. But yeah, like I do think that's going to become a real conversation. It does feel a little hot takey right now, especially because J-Dub just had such a good game against Orlando. Paulo's an amazing player, and he is being asked to be the number one guy for that Magic team. But I would love to see J-Dub like in that role. I think he would step up, and I think he would continue to put up really good numbers if he was leading a team, like if he was a team's SGA. I'm glad he doesn't have to be, but anyone in the comments put it.
He kind of is now. Usman Jang, yeah, like please.
Okay.
Yeah,
he almost got close to Paulo.
Okay, like in reality, I mean, yes, this is Shay's team, but like in the clutch, it's not like sometimes it's half and half, which is like insane. I'll just put Alexei Pokushevsky on the monitor. I mean, look at that peak though, like -2 almost. Fantastic.
Halliburton. You're putting Halliburton in there?
Yeah.
Halliburton's a good one.
Yeah.
He's
Halliburton.
just been. It's almost like linear. Just keeps rising.
Someone in the chat is suggesting to put Şengün.
Ooh, yeah.
Why?
Let's do it.
Oh yeah.
For
Why
fun.
do-
Put
Why do you
out.
want to see that?
There he is. He's in the yellow.
Yeah.
Look at that. Not that good.
You know who has a funny?
Bad, not that good. Michele texted me the other day and it was like that he wanted to feel better about himself and he just wanted to watch some Şengün. Don't do that.
Look how goofy Giddy's is.
It is
Giddy
really
has like the most dramatic DPM, like huge. Well, I mean, relatively speaking, like huge peaks, huge valleys, just back and forth.
yeah.
And you can see the individual games, like they really do map out
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah. You can see that dip there. And like you know what was going on during that dip. Like you can feel those games.
That is the start of last year's season, and the second dip is the start of this season. He has really a problem with September and October. Is he an oyster? Like the month with the R are bad for oysters because everyone are eating them? Something like that?
Oh, let's put Shea.
Yeah, put Shea in
Shea.
there. Yeah. Shea is like lifting off like a rocket with all of these like all inclusive stats. It's crazy what he's been able to do. Yeah. But like Dub, man, I don't know. Like any of these like Darko or EPM or whatever it is, like the projections that you're seeing with him are just outrageous. Wimby's is like
Wimby's is the funniest one because it's literally a straight line up.
It's just
a vertical line. Oh, I should put it in chat.
I was gonna say put it in chat.
Yeah. Let me
yeah, Wimby's is crazy. With the usage stuff too is really interesting with him because he has like a very average, a little bit above average usage rate, and then like Paolo's is like 28 or something like that, and Wimby's is like astronomical. Like, what does it look like? If he had a usage rate that was like 30 or 33, you know, like where does this go? Because if the efficiency stays, I mean, it gets pretty crazy pretty fast, like the conversations do. You know?
Yeah. What I have in mind is that, like, I hear a lot of comments about, Chad is playing with like great players. J-Dub is being so efficient because he's playing with great players. I mean, just go and look the type of shots that J-Dub takes. That is not really like a lot of, hey, I'm wide open because Shea is getting all the attentions. It's, hey, I'm going to the teeth of the defense and like shot a contested Jimbo with the wrong hand. That is what is happening. So I just think that these players are so efficient that they have a lot of margins. Like Shea can have a bad game, and if we compare like Shea's bad games to like other players, it's insane. Like 11 for 24 from the court, it's inefficient for Shea, and it's just way above average for like normal, very good NBA players. And J-Dub is in the same ballpark, if not better. And back to Chet, which clearly doesn't have the same opportunities, because I mean, he touches the ball very little compared to other guys, and this is not like something that he really benefits from. He takes open shots, sure. Like Wemby takes open shots. Nobody's really guarding him from the 3-point line because they are afraid of everything else. So it's like speaking about like, hey, yes, J-Dub is this good or this efficient because he plays with Chet, with Shea, or Chet is going great because he's playing. No, like you're not really looking at how the Thunder plays. If you're saying that, it's not that. It's they really play a good brand of basketball, and they really force the issue like getting down low, and this is how they play. It's not easy. It's a style of play.
Yeah, I think also just like these it underscores too like the perfect fits that guys like Chet and J-Dub are for this team and the style of play. Yeah, like there's like they're perfect for this style, and also Wemby is what Wemby needed was to be able to have like this blank canvas of like, let me imprint myself onto a team where I am the entire ecosystem. And that couldn't have really happened here. Like, I think that they would have had to figure out like what to do with them. And I think it could have ended up being great, but I don't think it's like as quick of a fit as Chet is, because it's like, hey, Chet is a good outside shooter already. Well, great. Like, that's what we wanted. You know, if Wemby shoots 29% or whatever from three for the season, and he played for the Thunder doing that, it would be it'd be a harder thing to fit, and you can't give him the usage rate. You can't give him all these things. I think like all these players have like somehow ended up in the perfect scenarios for them, you know, and it's why the Thunder are the 2 seed right now. And it's like why Wemby's stats look the way that they do. Like they're both like great situations for these guys. So
yeah, I always think of Draymond and how people will say, well, obviously he couldn't do that if he was on his own team. It's like, well, guess what? He doesn't have to. He gets to play with Steph Curry every single game for the rest of his life, most likely.
Yeah.
Like, you can't knock a guy necessarily. Like, you have to evaluate them as they are playing in their current situation. And I think both Chet and J-Dub have really stepped up in their roles and are like, I probably wouldn't. I don't want to say that Chet is maximizing, because I still think there's a long way to go with Chet. But like, it does feel like
like a long way.
But J-Dub does feel like he's like maximizing that specific role right now, and he's kind of breaking out of that role into something bigger this year.
Yeah, I mean, we are seeing Chet using the one-legged fadeaway once every 5 games. I mean, he can do that pretty efficiently. He took 10 threes in one game and 8 another one. Like, he can do that every single night. I do think that the next step will be, how do we get Chet like 16, 18 shots a game? We need to do that. Does it mean that Dort takes a shot less? Joe takes even a shot less? Giddey takes like 12 shots less than now? And we give them to this guy? This is the goal, because Chet is extremely efficient, and I think that we are just scratching the way in which he can play. Because if you need to guard him in the mid-range, if you need to really, really guard him out there because he's not taking 4 threes but 10, then this opens up so much of the rim running Chet that we are seeing, like maybe a little bit with Jada, because he's leveraging his shooting a little bit more than what Shea does, and he's not playing with Giddey, which kills a little bit the pick and roll spacing.
Mm-hmm. Next question: what's going to happen with the Rockets and Jazz? Where do these teams go? Like, do the Rockets continue to fall? Because right now they would have the 10th pick in the draft from the Rockets and the 11th pick from the Jazz. My hope is that they will both continue to drop, and that the Thunder will somehow get like the 8th or 9th pick in the draft from the Rockets and push out the Jazz pick to next season. But to me, that's another like really interesting subplot to all of this, and that really has nothing to do with, you know, what the Thunder are doing on the court. But the fact is, like, the Thunder could potentially have 2 lottery picks coming their way, and at least one that's like pretty valuable.
Yeah, I think Houston should improve significantly, because they're without Fred VanVleet, and they have been terrible without VanVleet. They've been 1-6 without VanVleet, and he was day-to-day before the All-Star break. The other player is Tari Eason, who's been out for a while as well. He's getting reevaluated after All-Star break, and Ime Udoka had some quote about like he's really going to like look at the rotation after the All-Star break. And if they decide to play Jalen Green less, which they should do, they will be better. Like, he tanks almost every lineup that he's in. And so if those guys get healthy and Ime Udoka really does start playing different rotations, I think they'll be fine. Like, I don't think they're going to make the play-in or anything, but I think they'll be better than what they've been recently. They've been 3-7 in their last 10.
Mm-hmm.
The Jazz are just a weird one, because I get that they like traded away Olynyk, but they're still like basically that team that was on the ridiculous hot streak. And
Yeah.
they've been competitive in these games that they're losing. You know, they've lost 4 in a row, but they've been competitive in a lot of these games. They're 3-7 in the last 10 too. So I don't know what to think about them. A lot of it I feel like is going to fall on Keontae George and how quickly he gets good, because they're going to give him a lot more minutes the second half of the season.
Yep.
So I could see them falling back just because of that, like playing a rookie point guard. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs with that.
Definitely.
Whereas Houston will get back their veteran point guard and will probably be a lot more stable than Utah night to night.
They play each other 3 times. Utah.
Oh, do they really?
And Houston, yes. And Utah has a pretty difficult schedule. And I mean, Houston, like part of them being better means that they somehow snag another win from OKC, or maybe 2. They face them 3 times. So if OKC does
twice next week.
Yeah, exactly.
One like crazy late night game next Tuesday.
Yeah. So it's probably something that, I mean, OKC has to try to win those games, because it helps their draft talks and also like kill their Rockets, which is not bad in general. I don't know. I think that the Jazz have like a very hard schedule, and it will not be easy for them to really improve. I don't see them being a playing team, to be honest. I mean,
no. The question is, what teams can jump them? Because currently they're in the 11th spot, and that pick is top 10 protected. So really, just Houston needs to jump them, and they're only a game back, and that would make it pretty likely they'd keep their pick, although I still think it's like 50-50. But then below that, you have Atlanta and Brooklyn. Atlanta, no idea what to do with. Brooklyn just changed their head coach. Maybe they get a new head coach bounce. He stops playing Cam Thomas, who's similar to Jalen Green, has like tanked a lot of his lineups.
I don't know. Did you see the report that Cam Thomas came and gave Kevin Ollie the biggest hug after their meeting?
Really? So you think this could be the Cam Thomas show?
Could get much worse.
Well, in that case, they will not be jumping them. I don't know. I mean,
they have the easiest schedule Brooklyn has, so maybe they can rack up some wins.
Interesting.
They have 2 against the Pistons, 3 against the Raptors, 2 against the Grizzlies, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and those teams like the Raptors want to lose. Like they would love to get into the top 5. Would be my assumption.
Oh my God, the Raptors top 6 protected pick going out. San Antonio. They are currently in 6th, and they are 3.5 games. Portland for the 5th spot. 3.5 games. Like that's going to be really hard to get bottom 5, which means they're going to have, it's actually less than a 50-50 chance to keep their pick. I did the math. It was like 54% of losing it.
Yeah, they really got a tank. They really got a tank.
Scotty has had a little limp in the All-Star game. I mean, I'm sure that he can sit like for, I don't know, 2 months. I mean,
yeah. Somebody tweeted that he runs like he's wearing high heels. Did you guys see that? It's like, it's so true. It's amazing. It's an amazing tweet. I don't know
who's on. The hard thing with them is like, who are you even giving minutes to? Like Bruce Brown is like a solid NBA player. Manuel Quickly, they obviously are going to keep playing him on RJ Barrett. Yeah. I guess you can start giving Grady Dick a lot more minutes.
He's been playing more lately, and he's actually been okay.
Jordan Nwora. They have Kelly Olynyk. Yeah, like
I know. Like, what are they're the most like.
Listen. He's Canadian. Come on, he's from Canada. That is,
I know, but they're basically punting their chance of getting that pick.
Isn't that crazy?
Because Memphis is right ahead of them. Memphis is only a half game up.
I know. I don't think you can really crack like the top 7 or 8. My guess is like the Thunder's pick, that they won't get the Jazz pick, and then the Rockets pick will fall somewhere between 9 and 12.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It would be the dream scenario, Andrew.
I'm not going to say it, but I will say, just go ahead and put a Thunder jersey on Kyle Filipowski. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, realistically, Houston can only jump Utah and Chicago. Like they're not going to jump any team above that. Golden State, LA, Orlando, Miami.
No, like that's where it's going to land. Is like, and my guess is that Chicago will probably have a better record, and then maybe they ended up at 11.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe the Jazz end up at 10, and then you have a 50-50 shot of getting it still.
God, I really don't want it.
You don't want
really
two
Why?
picks?
Bad drafts are awesome. I mean, we have to do the Euro guys. Nobody's talking about the Euro guys.
Yeah, they're just putting them
We
all at
have
the top.
films.
They're
We
like, all
have
right,
films about Euro guys, by the
those
way.
guys
So,
are good. Let's just push those guys up to the top.
yeah, come on, Topic. We have to. I mean, I don't even remember the names. I'm very bad at this. What's the name?
Who's the
Risache.
Ricochet. Yeah.
And
I
the
don't
other
even
guy.
want to attempt to pronounce his
Salun.
name because I haven't looked up how to do it yet. But his last name is Salaun. First name Tidj.
Salaun. Dijon Salaun.
Yeah, Saloon.
Yeah. What is his story? He like came out of nowhere. It feels like.
I don't.
To
I
get
have no
that
idea.
high.
I
No
watched him
interest.
shooting the basketball. I was pretty interested. It's
Yeah.
not super fluid, but it's sturdy, tall, strong. shooting
Tall,
the
good
basketball well.
shooter. I don't know that much more about him besides that. We need to have Vicini on. Okay, last question. Then I've got to go. Who wins awards on this team? Is it, I mean, to me, like Mark probably wins coach of the year. Is that like the most sure thing now?
Yeah, because if they're in the top 4, let's say, it's going to be hard to pick anyone else. Although I still am really impressed with Cleveland. So
Sure. I don't think people are going to vote for Bickerstaff after what happened in the playoffs last year. I just don't
I
think.
don't think either. But he'll have a
Same
good
with Mazzola,
case.
by the way.
Same with who?
Mazzola. I don't think that they will vote for him for the same same reason.
Yeah, people are. People
I mean,
think he's like the weirdest guy.
If Minnesota finishes number 1, Chris Finch does deserve a lot of credit based on how everyone was talking about that team last year.
Yeah.
But I still think that Mark is the overwhelming favorite.
Yeah. I think that's the one. I would probably put the next best odds of the Thunder getting like winning an award would be Shea MVP.
That's probably true. I think J-Dub would have to go on a crazy tear to make a dent in the most improved player voting.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to get there because his averages were like high enough where, like, to me, what Kobe White's done this year is so like the stats are like so dramatic and his plays, like he's been really, really good. And especially if they're like in the play-in and they are really competitive down the stretch, like he's their go-to guy and he's been really awesome. So I really just think, I think it's going to go, I think it should go to him, and like Tyrese Maxey's the other. I think he's still the odds-on favorite to win it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to go to probably one of those guys. But yeah, I think it's probably Mark, Shea. I mean, Chet still like technically has a chance to win it. But I think that Wembanyama has, with the usage and the statistical craziness that he's got going on, I think he's going to win it.
Can I just read out loud the stats of J-Dub of the last 20 games?
I would love that.
32.4 minutes, 15 shots from the. I'm using round numbers because I don't want to read like 14.8. Almost 15 shots per game, 57.5% from the field, 50% from 3, 74% from the line on 3 free throws, 4.3 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1.2 steals, 21 points. Like 58% from the field.
58% from the field is crazy.
That is nuts. Just nuts. He can literally take like 3 shots that have no chance to go in, and he still would be extremely efficient. Like it's insane. It's not normal. Like if he goes like that until the end of the year, like I don't care about Kobe White. This is insane efficiency. This is just like different. Not the same as other guys. It's very different. Very unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think he'll get votes for sure. I don't, for whatever reason, like he's not going to end up as like one of the guys, but he's been ridiculous. And like to me, it's funny because you look at his averages over the course of the season, and it's like he could be most improved player from October to now, based on not how he like played from October to now, but based on like his point totals from October to now. Like it's up every single month.
Yeah.
You know, I mean it's crazy where he was, and it's only just in a handful of games, but he's averaging 25 points in the
Yeah.
month.
I mean,
of
Kobe
February.
White is averaging the same amount of points that he does for the season.
Yeah, but Kobe averaged 9 last year.
I know he sucked last year.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a reward. Like if you take like the average version of Kobe White in the last year, it's not that different. So the reason, like the strategy is, hey, I suck 1 year and then I go back to myself, and it's a wartime.
I don't know. I think he's actually good. I think he's actually good. Yeah,
I'm
J-Dub.
not saying he's bad. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that J-Dub is just flat out better.
Yeah, he's a much better player. J-Dub in October 15 points, November 17, December 18, January 19, February 25. I mean, it's just
whatever.
insane. Like it just doesn't
Yeah.
even make sense. And even his shooting percentages literally go up. His true shooting goes up every single month. 58 in October, 61 in November, 61.9 in December, in January 64, and then in February, and just I think it's only 4 games, but 68.9%.
It was 64 in January. Like in January, where they had to play every single night. 64%. They had a terrible schedule. Like they faced all the great teams. 64%. What are we talking about?
Yeah,
Like,
it's absurd. I mean,
it
he
is absurd.
has, and he's only halfway through year 2. I mean, he has the trajectory of a superstar player right now.
Yeah.
It's insane. Okay. Anything else before we go? Anything else you want to get off your chest before we see Gordon Hayward play tomorrow night against the Clippers?
No.
Okay. Great. Okay. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. We'll have another pod for you on Friday, recapping that game. Very, very excited about that. It's going to be so much fun. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you guys again on Friday.